Qere and Ketiv, from the Aramaic Qere or Qre, and Ketiv or Ketiv, Ketiv, also known as Qere and Ketiv or Qere and Ketiv, refer to a small number of differences between what is written in the consonantal text of the Hebrew Bible, as preserved by scribal tradition, and what is read. In such situations, the Qere is the technical orthographic device used to indicate the pronunciation of the words in the Masoretic text of the Hebrew language scriptures, while the Ketiv indicates their written form, as inherited from tradition. The Masoretic tradition, Torah scrolls for use in public reading in synagogues contain only the Hebrew language consonantal texts, handed down by tradition. However, in the Masoretic codices of the 9th–10th centuries, and most subsequent manuscripts and published editions of the Tanakh intended for personal study, the pure consonantal text is annotated with vowel points, cantillation marks and other diacritic symbols used by the Masortes to indicate how it should be read and chanted, besides marginal notes serving various functions. Though the basic consonantal text written in the Hebrew alphabet was never altered, sometimes the Masortes noted a different reading of a word than that found in the pre-Masoretic consonantal text. The Masoretic scribes used Qere, Ketiv to show, without changing the received consonantal text, that in their tradition a different reading of the text is to be used. That Masoretic reading or pronunciation is known as the Qere, while the pre-Masoretic consonantal spelling is known as the Ketiv written. In such Masoretic texts, the vowel diacritics of the Qere would be placed in the main text, added around the consonantal letters of the Ketiv, with a special sign indicating that there was a marginal note for this word. In the margins there would be a sign, followed by the consonants of the Qere reading. In this way, the vowel points were removed from the Qere and written instead on the Ketiv. Despite this, the vowels and consonantal letters of the Qere were still meant to be read together. Types of Qere and Ketiv: ordinary Qere and ordinary Qere. There is only a difference in certain closely related letters, or letters that can be silent. For example, the similarly shaped letters are often exchanged, as are and the similar sounding. Very often, one of the letters are inserted or removed from a word. Many other similar cases exist. Other times, letters are reordered within the word. Because the difference between the Qere and Ketiv is relatively large, a note is made in footnotes, side notes or brackets to indicate it. Vowel Qere. Sometimes, although the letters are unchanged, the vowel points differ between the Qere and Ketiv of the word. The Ketiv is typically omitted with no indication, leaving only the vowelization for the Qere. Often the Ketiv left in an unusual spelling, but other times, both Qere and Ketiv remain in standard spelling. This type of Qere is different from Qere perpetuum, because here, the consonants do not change. In a Qere perpetuum, the consonants actually do change. Omitted Qere. Occasionally, a word is not read at all, in which case, the word is marked Ketiv velo Qere, meaning, written and not read. Added Qere. Occasionally, a word is read but not written at all, in which case, the word is marked Qere velo Ketiv, meaning, read and not written. Euphemistic Qere. In rarer cases, the word is replaced entirely for reasons of taharat halason, purity of language. This type of Qere is noted in a printed Hebrew Bible. Split, joined Qere. In such a case, a Qere is one word while the Ketiv is multiple words or vice versa. Qere perpetuum. In a few cases a change may be marked solely by the adjustment of the vowels written on the consonants, without any notes in the margin, if it is common enough that this will suffice for the reader to recognize it. This is known as a Qere perpetuum. It differs from an ordinary Qere, in that there is no note marker and no accompanying marginal note. These are certain commonly occurring cases of Qere, Ketiv in which the reader is expected to understand that a Qere exists merely from seeing the vowel points of the Qere in the consonantal letters of the Ketiv. For example, in the Pentateuch, the third-person singular feminine pronoun high is usually spelled the same as the third-person singular masculine pronoun who. The Masortes indicated this situation by adding a written diacritic symbol for the vowel I to the pre-Masoretic consonantal spelling HW. The resulting orthography would seem to indicate a pronunciation HIW, but this is meaningless in Biblical Hebrew, and a knowledgeable reader of the biblical text would know to read the feminine pronoun ha here. Another example of an important Qere perpetuum in the text of the Bible is the name of the God of Israel. Often it is marked with the vowels, indicating that it is to be pronounced as Adonai rather than with its own vowels. The consensus of mainstream scholarship is that Yahweh is a pseudo-Hebrew form which was mistakenly created when medieval or Renaissance Christian scholars misunderstood this common Qere perpetuum. The usual Jewish practice at the time of the Masortes was to pronounce it as Adonai, as is still the Jewish custom today. Pronouncing it as Jehovah, Yahweh, or similar would be a mistake of exactly the same type as reading HIW for the Qere perpetuum of the third-person singular feminine pronoun. Occasionally, the Tetragrammaton is marked to indicate a Qere of Elohim, another divine name. Interpretation and significance. Jewish tradition. In Jewish tradition, both the Qere and the Ketiv are considered highly significant. When reading the Torah scroll in the synagogue, Jewish law stipulates that the Qere is to be read and not the Ketiv, to the extent that if the Ketiv was read, it must be corrected and read according to the Qere. In addition, however, Jewish law requires the scroll to be written according to the Ketiv, and this is so critical that substituting the Qere for the Ketiv invalidates the entire Torah scroll. Various traditional commentaries on the Torah illustrate the interplay of meaning between the Qere and the Ketiv, showing how each enhances the meaning of the other. Some examples of this include Genesis chapter 8 verse 17. Take out all the living things that are with you, from all the flesh. Rashi, Ibid. It is written as, send out, and read as, take out. Noah is to say to them, go out. Thus, the written form, send out. If they do not want to go out, you should take them out. Genesis chapter 12 verse 8. And he, Abram, moved from there to the mountain east of Bethel and set up his tent. Bethel was in the west and Ai in the east. He built an altar there to the Lord and called in the name of the Lord. Rashi, Ibid. It is written as, her tent. First, he set up his wife's tent, and afterwards his own. Bereshit Rabbah 39-15. Siftei Chachimim, Ibid. How does Rashi know that Abraham erected his wife's tent before his own? Maybe he put up his own tent first. His words were based on the words of the Talmud that one should honor his wife more than himself. Exodus chapter 39 verse 33. And they brought the Mishkan to Moses, the tent and all its vessels, its hooks, its beams, its bars, its pillars, and its sockets. Rashi, Exodus chapter 26 verse 26. The 5 bars which supported the wall planks and kept them straight were in 3 lines going horizontally through each plank of the 3 walls. But the top and bottom bars in the 3 walls were made of 2 parts, each extending through half of the wall. Each bar would enter a hole in the wall on opposite sides until they met each other. Thus we find that the top and bottom bars were really 2 bars each, which were 4 half bars. The middle bar, however, extended the entire length of the wall, going from end to end of the wall. Mephanach Nelamim, cited in Eim Lamak Ravela Masere, Exodus chapter 39 verse 33. The Talmud understands, from end to end, as a miracle. After the planks were in place on the 3 sides of the Mishkan, a 70-cubit long bar would be inserted into the center of the first plank at the eastern end of either the northern or southern wall. When that bar reached the end of that wall, it would miraculously curve itself so that it continued within the western wall. At the end of that wall, it again turned to fill the space drilled through the planks of the third wall. Thus the middle bar, which seemed to be 3 separate bars for the 3 walls, was really one long bar. The Qere, its bars, refers to the simple interpretation that there were 3 distinct middle bars, one for each wall. But the Ketiv, its bar, refers to the second interpretation, that the 3 middle bars were really only one bar that miraculously spanned all 3 walls. Others consider the Qere and Ketiv to be matters of scribal opinion, but modern translators nevertheless tend to follow the Qere rather than the Ketiv. Typography. Modern editions of the Chumash and Tanakh include information about the Qere and Ketiv, but with varying formatting, even among books from the same publisher. Usually, the Qere is written in the main text with its vowels, and the Ketiv is in a side or footnote. Other times, the Ketiv is indicated in brackets, in line with the main text. In a tikkun, which is used to train the synagogue Torah reader, both the full text using the Ketiv and the full text using the Qere are printed side by side. However, an additional note is still made in brackets or in a footnote in older prayer books. The Ketiv was vowelized according to the Qere and printed in the main text. The unvowelized Qere was printed in a footnote.